Nick, thank you so much for being with us today. Chantilly, what a filly you had on your hands last year. In 2024, 9 for 9, over $560,000 made in the bank. What a ride she took you on.
Yeah, it was very unexpected, especially out of the mare she was out of her dam. She never really showed much of being a good racehorse, and then, being bet, not to a top sire, and it just turned out to be a fantastic animal.
Daughter of Canadian star up there, Big Jim. So thinking about the connection, did you think that you, as you said, out of that mare, did you think with Big Jim there, do you think you were going to get the kind of filly you had?
She actually, when she came down as a yearling, she stood out. Like, we mostly train homebreds, and she definitely was the flashiest looking homebred we had. So, I had some, high hopes, but you never really know until you get close to racing. But she never really did anything wrong. Her second and third dam actually were very good horses. So, she did have some pedigree behind her. It's just her dam was not really much of a racehorse. So you never really know, but I guess sometimes it skips a generation.
Now take us through that 2024 season. Stayed at Woodbine in all 9 of those starts. Wasn't eligible to the Breeders' Crown, so she stopped there in October. But take us through 2024. Tell us a little bit about what it was like racing her up there at Woodbine.
Yeah, it was just an unbelievable ride. She did things that I've never had a horse do, and she seemed to do it, so handily. And it really, to me, it looked like she was just as strong at the end of the year as she was at the start of the year. So, just a remarkable horse, and really enjoyed the ride we had with her last year.
One thing about her racing style, it looks like she likes to lead, settle in, and then just make that big brush to get to the front, and she kind of takes control from there.
Yeah, it's funny. Like, I trained her today, actually, a decent mile, and you don't really feel like the speed that she's going. She just does everything so easy. And really grateful that she, brought that back to the table this year. I really don't think the trip. She seemed to win kind of with any trip she got. Like her second lifetime start, she won first over. She won the She's Great Lady over. Then all the other races, it just seemed like whoever was cutting the mile was just waiting for her to come around them. And obviously, we didn't have any problem doing that.
James McDonald, her pilot, and just seemed like a great match for her. What were some of the things James would say when he got off the bike?
He just seemed like, every time he raced her, just like almost an awe. He just said he's never really, she really doesn't feel like she's going as fast as she's going, as I just said. And in the third quarter, he'd always be like, I think I'm going a quarter on 30. And he'd look over at the teletimer, the 3/4 pole, and be like 27. And it just didn't seem like your competition could really step with her at that as 2-year-olds through that last turn. And I think that kind of separated her from the rest of the crop. But, James, great driver, and he puts the horse's future at the forefront whenever he drives a 2-year-old, and it's really grateful to associate with him.
I think that is one of the toughest things, making that jump from 2 to 3. Love hearing things you said, like putting her away strong. So we loved her coming back here, going to have to make that big jump. You said she trained today. Tell us how she seems coming back here in 2025.
It was a pretty windy day today. I was hoping to go in 55, but I ended up going a mile in 56. But she did it well within herself. So there's a couple stakes races for Ontario side horses beginning in May, towards the end of May, and then we'll see where we're at after those 3 races.
Now, expectations for 2025. Now, are we going to see her here in the U.S.? And what about, can she handle a different size track?
I don't think the track side is going to really matter. We have a half-mile track, and she was always pacing very good at the farm track. The only race that we have outside of Woodbine is going to be actually at Poconos, and it seems like a very forgiving track. I've never actually raced there, but it just seems like horses seem to be able to put up big fractions, and they seem to float through the turns there. But we'll see what happens. But like I said, I'm not really concerned about track size with her.
Interesting hearing maybe a rumor that we've heard down here in the States that you think that she can go with the boys. Now, it's interesting because I've been around, I've got to see these colts. I think this is going to be one of the best group of 3-year-old pacing colts we've seen in quite a while. How do you feel like your filly could match up against the boys?
I mean, she's definitely going to have to be a lot better than she was last year. We'll see how she comes back and kind of play it by ear. But like James McDonald said, if any, filly's going to be able to do it, it's going to be her. So we're just going to gauge it, see how she comes back and see how the Colts team. I mean, those were some pretty impressive miles that Ron Burke's Colts put in last year or last week at the Meadowlands in qualifying. So we'll just keep an eye on them and see how our filly seems and make a decision, towards the middle of June.
Nick, I think you know how to get Payson fillies around there, as you've had Prohibition, Legal, and of course Silver Label in the last couple of years. You've been on a heck of a run, and I wish you the best of luck with Chantilly coming back here at 3.
Thank you very much, Wendy. It's greatly appreciated, and we've been very grateful to have these horses. And I'm just going to try and enjoy it while we can. These ones don't come along very often, so we'll do our best.
Well, Nick, best of luck, and we hope we see you here in the U.S. Thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you very much, Wendy.
I'm awfully glad I won.
The Hamiltonian, it's one of the most prestigious races.
It's quite a thrill. It's one of the biggest thrills of my life.
We delivered. The horse delivered. It was amazing. I can't believe it.
I am stunned. I'm absolutely stunned.
This is obviously the pinnacle.
It's just something that I can't explain.
This is just an absolute dream come true.
It feels good now, but I'm sure it's going to feel even better tomorrow.
For me to do it, this is my moment.
I might have got a little excited.